The first thing Riley Shaw notices is the smell. Bleached cheap soap metal, and underneath it all the copper tang of blood. It hangs in the air of St. Gabriel Medical Center, thick enough that if she closes her eyes she can almost taste it on the back of her tongue. It is 5:12 p.m. in Austin, Texas. Outside, the sky glows a dusty orange. Inside the emergency department, time forgets how to move straight. Monitors beep in uneven rhythms. A kid cries somewhere near Fast Track. A trauma pager buzzes on the hip of someone who does not hear it the first time. Riley adjusts an IV on a post-op patient, taping the line with careful square pieces. Her hair is tied back in a plain knot. Her badge turned just enough that no one reads her last name unless they really try. She keeps her body close to the wall out of the main current of the hallway. "Shaw, you almost done with 22? A resident calls without looking up from his tablet. "Almost," she says. Her voice is soft. It disappears under the noise. She checks the drip again, even though it is fine. Out of habit, her eyes sweep the room. Doorways, corners, the reflection in the metal frame of the supply cabinet. She counts exits without meaning to. At the nurse's station, Jamie Ortiz leans close to a new float nurse. "She freezes every time trauma gets bad," Jamie whispers. "Smart, sure, but quiet like that never lasts here." The words ride the thin walls. Riley hears them. It is impossible not to. She pretends she does not. Silence is a coat she has worn for years. It keeps questions out. It keeps memory in. The overhead speaker cracks a sharp pop that slices through the hall. "Incoming trauma, GIO ETA 3 minutes. Gunshot wound." The word lands hard in her chest. For a moment, the beeps and voices of the ER bleed into another sound in her mind. Chopper blades, wind over sand, a radio screaming through static. She presses her fingers into the edge of the bed until the image fades. The automatic doors at the front of the ER slide open, then slam shut again under the force of 2 security guards hauling a stretcher through. The gurney wheels shriek against the floor, leaving a line of rubber. "Clear trauma 1, move, The command cuts the hallway. Nurses scatter. A tech pushes a cart aside, almost crashing into a wall. Someone pulls a curtain closed in a hurry, fabric snapping on metal rings. Riley steps back, body tight against the wall as the stretcher rockets past. The man on the gurney is in uniform. Dress green soaked through a deep, spreading red. Metals hang crooked and broken. The white of a ceremonial sash is no longer white at all. His chest rises in jagged, shallow pulls. An oxygen mask fogs with each breath. "Is that a general?" the resident near Riley whispers without thinking. 4 stars, someone else answers under their breath. "Brigadier General Marshall Kane." Riley has seen his face before, but only in grainy news segments above scrolling banners. Desert campaigns, ribbons and speeches, men who salute him with sharp, proud hands. Now his head lolls to the side, gray hair matted with sweat. There is a small, angry hole in his left chest just off center. Too close. Way too close. Trauma 1 fills in seconds. Scrubs gloves snapping, metal clinking. Pressure is dropping, systolic in the 70s. "Get me a bedside echo." Dr. Ethan Cho pushes in through the tangle of bodies. He is not a large man, but the room makes space for him anyway. He pulls on a gown without breaking stride, already reaching for the ultrasound probe. "Talk to me. Where was he hit?" he asks. "Outdoor ceremony at Capitol Plaza. Single shooter. 1 confirmed wound," a paramedic says, voice high with leftover adrenaline. Ethan spreads gel on Kane's chest, the general's skin waxy and cold under the harsh lights. The ultrasound screen flickers, then fills with a gray shifting shape. The heart beating slow, effortful. A dark streak nestles along the bright curve of the pericardium. "Pericardial effusion," Ethan mutters. "There it is." The room quiets in that specific way Riley recognizes. Not silence, something heavier. Breaths held, gloves paused in midair. The monitor above the bed stutters. Beep, beep, beep. A missed beat. A long one. Ethan frowns at the screen. His jaw tightens. "The bullet is right along the pericardial margin, he says. Too deep. 1 wrong direction, and I open him up in the worst way." Riley stands behind the crash cart. Her hands rest on the metal bar and start to tap, matching the faltering rhythm above the bed. Her body feels light and heavy at once. The room around her sways, pulled out of focus by a different trauma bay in a different country. Bright flares overhead, a man screaming into a headset, her own hands buried inside a chest that will not stay closed. Blood on sand, sand in blood. She forces air into her lungs and locks her knees. "Prep the OR," Ethan says. "We may not have time, but we have no choice." The nurse at the head of the bed looks at the monitor. Numbers slide downward. Riley hears her own voice before she remembers deciding to speak. "You do have a choice," she says. Her words are quiet, but they cut across the room like someone dropped a tray. Ethan does not turn around. Not now, Shaw. She steps forward anyway around the crash cart until she stands close enough to see the pulse in the general's throat. If you go in from the anterior side, you will tear it, she says. The heart is rotated, the trajectory is low. You are looking at it from the wrong plane. Now he turns. His eyes are sharp and patient. This is not the time to guess. I'm not guessing. Her hands are steady. She keeps them at her side so no one sees how hard she is willing them not to shake. Approach from inferior laterals, Kisong. Euro, she says. Come under the edge of the diaphragm, not over. Lift the pericardium 2 millimeters. No more. It will open a pocket. The bullet is sitting there. You can see it on the echo if you tilt the probe. No way you know that, a resident blurts. You have not set foot in a cardiothoracic OR. Riley holds Ethan's gaze. For a second, the rest of the room falls away. It is just his skepticism pressed against something hard and unmovable inside her. I have seen this pattern before, she says, more than once. On the monitor, Kane's pressure drops another 10 points. Beep, beep, beep. The sound flattens at the edges. A military police officer swears under his breath. Ethan looks from the screen to the wound, then back to Riley. His jaw flexes. Choice is a narrow bridge here, and he can feel it. If I follow you and you are wrong, he dies on this table, he says. He says. If you do what you are about to do, Riley answers, he still dies. You just get to say you tried. The air in the room tightens. Somewhere near the doorway, Jamie stares eyes wide. She has never heard Riley talk like this. Ethan exhales through his nose. It sounds like surrender and focus at the same time. Fine, and he says, you stay right there and you do not touch anything. Talk me through it. Probe angle first, she says. The ultrasound tech adjusts under Ethan's direction. The gray shape on the screen shifts. The dark line of the bullet sits where she said it would, hunched beside the bright curve of the heart. There, Ethan breathes. He moves in. The incision is small, precise. The room holds its breath. The monitor screams at every hesitation. Inferior lateral, Riley says. You are close. Lift a little, 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters is nothing, he murmurs. It is everything right now. He lifts. A shallow pocket of space seems to bloom on the screen. The bullet glints for the first time. Got you, Ethan says. Forceps close. The bullet slides free, slick with blood. Someone drops it into a metal tray. It hits with a hard, ugly clink. The monitor tone changes. Still fast, but not frantic. The line steadies. Numbers climb. The room exhales all at once. Someone laughs too loudly out of pure relief. The military police officer wipes his forehead with the back of his gloved wrist. Stabilizing, Ethan says. He still sounds a little stunned. He is stabilizing. Riley steps back on instinct, trying to fold herself into the wall again. The urge to disappear is so strong it feels physical. Shaw, Ethan calls. She stops. He looks at her over his mask, eyes narrowed, not in anger now, but curiosity edged with unease. Where did you learn that technique? He asks. We do not teach that here. Not in any program I know. Riley swallows. There are a dozen answers she could give. None of them belong in this room. From a place, she says slowly, that was never meant to leave anyone alive. For a heartbeat, no one speaks. Out in the hallway, past the glass of trauma, a man in a dark suit watches the scene with his arms crossed. His hospital visitor badge is plain. The small clipped plastic tag on his belt that reads Federal Liaison is not. His eyes stay on Riley a fraction longer than on anyone else before he turns and walks away. The monitor beside General Kane keeps beeping. Steady now. Relentless. By the time they wheel General Kane to the elevator for ICU, the emergency department has shifted into a different kind of chaos. The first wave of adrenaline has burned off. In its place comes chatter. Someone pulls bloody sheets. Someone else wipes down the trauma bed, the smell of bleach returning, trying to erase what just happened. Voices overlap in the hallway, low at first, then louder as relief starts to look for somewhere to go. Riley stands at the sink, washing her hands, even though there is hardly any blood on them. Warm water, harsh soap, the familiar slide of latex snapping free. She watches the pink tinge swirl into the drain until it is only clear water again. Behind her, Jamie talks to another nurse, not even trying to whisper this time. They said he flatlined on the way in, Jamie says. I thought for sure he was gone. Did you see the bullet? The other asks. I saw the nurse, Jamie says. Shaw just started calling shots like she does this every day. Riley dries her hands slowly, paper towel rasping against her skin. She folds it into a neat square before throwing it away. She steps out into the hall. The TV bolted high in the corner of the waiting room has already caught the story. The sound is low, but the captions race across the bottom of a shaky video taken on a phone. People scatter across a sunlit plaza. Camera jerks. Someone is shouting. An anchor speaks over the footage. The caption reads, "4-star general shot at veteran ceremony rushed to local hospital." Then a still image appears. It is not from the plaza. It is from the trauma room. A grainy shot taken through the glass. The general on the bed. The team around him. At the edge of the frame, a woman in blue scrubs stands with one hand on a crash cart, head tilted toward the monitor. The image pauses on her face, blurred but just clear enough. Jamie follows Riley's gaze and sucks a breath through her teeth. "That is you," she says. Riley looks away before her own eyes can find themselves on the screen. "It is nobody," she answers. Ethan Cho walks past, tugging off his cap. His hair sticks up in damp directions. He stops when he sees Riley, like he nearly did not recognize her in the bright hall after the dim focus of Trauma 1. "Good work, Shaw," he says. She is not sure if he means her words in the trauma room or the fact that she has not melted into the floor yet. "It was your hands," she says. "They were my hands," he agrees. "It was not my plan." He studies her for a moment more. "If you ever get bored of this side of the hallway," he says, nodding toward the main ER, "I know a program or two that would kill to have you." Riley gives a small automatic smile. "I am fine where I am," she says. For now is the part she does not say out loud. The shift crawls after that. Every patient seems to know. The woman in room 12 asks if the general is really okay while Riley checks her blood pressure. A teenager filming himself on his phone in triage tries to sneak her into the background. Nurses who hardly spoke to her before offer her coffee, offer to swap tasks, ask careful leading questions she pretends not to understand. By the time her shift ends, her cheeks ache from polite smiles. Outside, the sun has slipped below the buildings. The sky holds on to a thin strip of orange at the horizon, but most of the parking lot is washed in the flat yellow of sodium lamps. Cicadas rattle in the trees near the edge of the lot, a dry, restless sound. Riley pushes the door open with her shoulder and steps out into the heat. The day has cooled, but the asphalt still breathes warmth. She pauses, letting her eyes adjust. The hospital looks different from the outside. Less like a battlefield, more like a stack of lit windows. Rows of squares glowing against the dark. Her car waits near the far fence under a lean, crooked tree. She starts toward it, bag over her shoulder. The heel of her shoe makes a small, even click on the pavement. Halfway there, she feels it. That prickle between her shoulder blades. The quiet certainty of being watched. She does not stop. She lets her gaze slide off the line of cars, as if bored, as if tired, as if thinking about nothing at all. Her eyes catch on a shape across the lane. A man stands near the entrance to the far stairwell in the spill of a single streetlight. Hands in his pockets, back straight, feet set just wider than his shoulders, knees loose. He is motionless in a way that is not relaxed at all. His face is half in shadow. The light catches along the edge of his jaw, the bridge of his nose. He does not fidget. He does not pull out a phone or look away or pretend he is not staring directly at her. The stance is familiar. Not just soldier familiar. Specific familiar. It hits some deep muscle memory before her brain can wrap words around it. Nights on a perimeter line, men made of angles and quiet. Her throat goes dry. She reaches for her keys in her bag, fingers closing around the cold metal. The chill of it helps. She makes herself keep walking at the same pace. She clicks the car unlock and slides inside, tossing her bag to the passenger seat. The door shuts with a solid thump that feels too loud in the nearly empty lot. She hits the lock. For a moment, she only sits, hands on the wheel chest tight. Her eyes close. One breath in, one out. Then she looks up. The man is still there. He has taken one step forward. The light falls over more of his face now, but not enough to show who he is. It is enough to see the angle of his shoulders, the line of an old scar near his collar that the collar of his shirt does not quite hide. He does not raise a hand. He does not call out. He only tilts his head, a small assessing motion, like he is making sure she sees him, making sure she remembers. Riley's fingers tighten on the steering wheel until her knuckles pale. Her foot hovers over the brake, though the car is not moving. She feels a thin vibration under her heel, the echo of a rotor blade that is not there. The man watches a second longer, then turns away. He walks toward the far exit of the lot, not fast, not slow. His shoulders never slump. He does not look back. She does not start the car until he is completely gone. The drive home takes 15 minutes. She takes the same route she always takes, but tonight every red light feels wrong. Too long. Too exposed. Every car that pulls up behind her sits too close in the rearview mirror. When she reaches her apartment complex, her hands are stiff on the wheel. She has to flex them twice before she can turn the key. Her building is small, 3 stories of beige siding and narrow exterior walkways. Her place is on the 2nd floor. From the outside, it looks like every other door. Inside, it smells faintly of coffee and old paper. She flips the light on and locks the deadbolt in a single practiced motion. Chain. Thumb on the metal for a heartbeat. Silence closes in. No monitors. No pagers. Just the hum of the refrigerator and a muffled television through the wall from a neighbor who keeps odd hours. She drops her bag onto the worn couch and stands still for a moment, listening to her own heartbeat in her ears. For a few seconds, she lets herself imagine she can go to bed and wake up in a world where today was just another shift. Where the man under the streetlight is a stranger and the general is just a face on the news, and her past has stayed where she buried it. Her feet move her to the bedroom closet before she has fully decided. She reaches up to the top shelf and pulls down a canvas duffel heavier than it looks. Dust puffs off the fabric when she sets it on the bed. The zipper teeth catch once under her hand as if reluctant to open. Inside, everything smells faintly of sweat sun and something dry that does not belong in Texas. Sand baked into cloth, a folded field dressing, a tourniquet rolled tight, a pair of trauma shears with a nick on one blade, a broken satellite phone, its antenna snapped halfway, a worn patch with a trident and the faded letters Ghost Line 3. Her fingers rest on the patch. In her mind, she hears the old call sign for the unit crisp in her ear through static. She sees a ridge veiled in heat, the sky the color of a dead television screen, the horizon blurred. She hears a voice yelling into a radio for air support that never came. Her phone buzzes on the nightstand. She freezes. For one strange second, she thinks it will be the hospital calling her back in. She picks it up. Unknown number. One new message. Nice work today, Doc. The air leaves her lungs. No one in this life calls her that. Not at St. Gabriel, not in Austin, not anywhere since the desert. Doc. The way a squad calls the person who will pack their wounds and drag them out of a blast zone. The way one voice used to say it in her ear, half grateful, half teasing. She sits down on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, duffel open beside her like a split wound. Her thumbs hover over the screen. Who is this? She deletes the period, then sends it. The reply comes fast. Come on, Riley. We both know you do not forget people you have stitched back together. She stares at his words. Her heart pounds high in her throat, loud enough that she can almost hear it over the distant traffic outside. You have the wrong number, she types. She does not hit send. She erases it letter by letter and tries again. How did you get this? This time she sends. They put your face on every screen comes back. Hard to miss, harder to believe. Dead girls do not usually show up in local news, saving Marshall Kane. The room seems to tilt. The letters on the phone blur for a moment, then sharpen. Her fingers move more slowly now. You shot him. A long pause. The little typing indicator appears, disappears, returns. I grazed him, the answer finally reads. I was not done with him yet. Images from the plaza flash in her mind. Kane on the ground, people screaming, blood soaking into parade uniforms. Why she writes. Glass dune, he sends. Ghost Line 3. That ridge, that radio. Ring any bells? Her hand shakes. She does not need the full story to feel the old night crash over her again. Wind full of grit, explosions painting the dunes, the dead weight of a body over her lap, while she pressed hard on a wound that would not stop. Another message appears before she can answer. He left us to die so his report would stay clean. He knows it. I know it. You know it somewhere under that nice blue uniform. Her gaze drops to the open duffel, the patch, the tourniquet, the broken phone. Under the hospital scrubs, under the new badge, that old version of herself sits up a little. Her phone buzzes again. They used you today, Doc. Same way they used us there. Leak your name, splash your picture, dangle you in the light. They knew I would see. They knew I would come. They know I will not kill you. Riley stares at the last message until the words stop looking like words and start looking like shapes. They know I will not kill you. Heat crawls up the back of her neck. She forces herself to breathe in through her nose, out through her mouth. The room feels smaller than it did 5 minutes ago. Her thumbs move. Who are you? 3 dots appear, disappear, return. You already know. Her heart gives a hard, painful thump. She thinks of that stance in the parking lot, the tilt of his head under the streetlight, the way he did not flinch, did not fidget, did not pretend to be anything else. You are supposed to be dead, she types. So were you, comes back. She swallows. The duffel beside her seems to glow at the edge of her vision. They zipped up 3 bags with our names on them, the next message reads. That is what the reports say anyway. 3 KIA, case closed. Her mind snags on that number. 3. Her, Noah, and the radio operator who never made it to the bird. Her chest pulls tight. She types slower now. What do you want? Justice, he sends. Truth. Something in between. He walked away with stars on his shoulders and a story about calculated risk. We left people on that ridge. You remember how many? You remember the radio screaming. You remember the silence when it cut. Images crowd in. The radio against her ear, her own voice hoarse from shouting coordinates. The reply that never came. The sky too quiet where it should have been full of engines. She tastes grit at the back of her throat as if the air in her apartment has turned to sand. They told us it was a transmission error, she types. Then they lied to you too. Another bubble arrives before she can find an answer. Do you really think a local anchor dug up your name on their own dock? Found the one dead core man from Ghost Line 3 and splashed her blurry face across the 6 o'clock block. Someone fed them that. Someone upstairs wanted you lit up like a flare. Her fingers tighten around the phone. Why? You know why he replies. They have been hunting me for years and still cannot catch a shadow. So they drag you into the open. They know I will not put a bullet through you. They know I owe you more than that. So they make you the one place I have to look. Her stomach twists. She thinks of the man in the dark suit in the hallway earlier. The small plastic tag on his belt. The way his eyes had stayed on her just a little too long. They used you today, he had written. Riley gets up abruptly. Her legs feel unsteady pins and needles along her calves. She crosses to the window and pulls the curtain aside just enough to look out. The parking lot of her complex is quiet. A couple arguing softly by a car on the far side. A bike tipped against a railing. No one under the sodium lights, no one in a stance she recognizes. Her phone buzzes in her hand. I did not aim to kill him, the message reads. Not yet. 3 rounds, 2 in concrete, loud enough to scare everyone into diving. The last one in soft tissue. Enough blood to make him remember, not enough to end it. Her hand curls around the curtain. You put a lot of other people at risk, she sends. Veterans, families, civilians. I counted Engels comes back. I counted bodies before I pulled the trigger. You think I forgot what it looks like when an extraction chopper never comes? She closes her eyes. The argument is a circle. Everything ends at the ridge. Everything ends at Glass Dune. She opens them again and types one more question. What now? Now, he answers, the general is under heavy guard, pretending he is not hearing voices from 12 years ago every time he closes his eyes. Now the agency that signed our death certificate gets to decide what story they tell about me. About you if you let them. She stares at the last line. A sound breaks the stillness. 3 sharp knocks at her door. Her entire body goes rigid. The phone screen lights her hand with a pale glow. For a second, she does not move at all. The knocks come again. Same rhythm. Firm knuckles on wood. Riley sets the phone down on the bed. The message thread glares up at her, the last words hanging there unresolved. She moves quietly to the living room. The lamp casts a small pool of light, leaving the corners in shadow. She pauses beside the door, listening. A male voice speaks muffled through the wood. Ms. She, Riley Shaw, we would like a word. He does not sound nervous. He does not sound angry. He sounds like someone accustomed to being obeyed. Another voice lower says something she cannot catch. She takes a breath, then looks through the peephole. 2 men stand in the breeze-block hallway. Both wear suits that do not quite match the humidity of Austin nights. No uniforms, no patrol belts. The taller one has a haircut too neat to be accidental and a face that gives away very little. He holds an identification wallet up toward the peephole, tilted just enough that she can read the letters. CIA. Her fingers find the chain lock without looking. What do you want? She asks through the door. Ms. Shaw, the taller man says. My name is Sloan Pierce. This is Agent Keller. We are here regarding what happened this afternoon at St. Gabriel, and at Capitol Plaza before that. I have already spoken to hospital administration, she says. This is not about hospital protocol, Pierce answers. This is about your safety. The word lands with a dull weight. Riley hesitates, then slides the chain free and opens the door just enough to see their faces without giving up the doorframe. Pierce offers a small smile, the kind meant to be disarming. Up close, his badge looks real. So do the lines at the corners of his mouth, the faint sheen of sweat at his hairline. Keller stands half a step back, eyes scanning the stairwell and parking lot like he expects trouble. We did not want to surprise you, Pierce says. Unfortunately, the timing is what it is. Knocking at night is not a surprise to you, she asks. Something flickers at the edge of his expression. You were involved in a high-profile incident, he says. Your name is in the news. The man who shot General Kane is still at large. We do not like that combination. Her skin crawls at the echo of the last text. They know I will not kill you. Riley keeps her hand on the door. You think he is coming here, she says. Pierce meets her eyes. I think people in your position rarely stay bystanders, can you imagine, he says, whether they want to or not. It is not quite an answer. How did my name get on television, she asks. No one asked me permission. The press moved fast, Pierce says. Someone at the hospital spoke out of turn, it happens. She watches his face while he talks. The way his gaze stays steady, the lack of a blink at the wrong moment. He lies well. If it is a lie, it is one he has practiced. That's simple, she says. Nothing about today is simple, he replies, which is exactly why we would like to relocate you to a secure environment until we have the shooter contained. Keller shifts his weight. His voice when he speaks is softer than she expects. We have reason to believe he will try again, he says, and we know he has a habit of finishing what he starts. She thinks of the message on her bed. I grazed him. I was not done. You talk like you know him, she says. We build profiles, Pierce says. We have spent years reading his patterns. Her eyes narrow. When did you decide I was part of those patterns, she asks. He pauses. I read your file this afternoon, he says. I have it a phone, he says, the one that was not supposed to exist anymore. She feels a cold line trace her spine. You were declared KIA, he continues. Corpsman attached to a special warfare unit, Ghost Line 3, 12 years ago in a place that no one wants to put in a headline. And yet here you are alive saving a general who left that desert with a promotion. The apartment feels too bright. The lamp shows every small imperfection in the wall, every crack in the paint. Who else read that file, she asks. Enough people, Pierce says. Enough that when the news station needed a hook, someone handed them one. He does not say we. He does not have to. Riley leans her shoulder into the frame. The wood is solid cool through her shirt. What exactly are you asking me to do, she says. Right now, Pierce says, we are asking you to let us move you somewhere we can control the variables. A safe house, transport, protection. A chance to keep distance between you and a man who clearly has unfinished business with General Kane. And with me, she says. And with you, he allows. He allows. Her mind ticks through the implications. A safe house under their control is a place where she is watched, contained, kept on someone else's schedule. A place where they can decide when and how she is in the line of sight. I still have shifts, she says, patience. We can coordinate with the hospital, Pierce replies. They will manage. You are not the only nurse in Austin. The way he says it is not unkind. That somehow makes it worse. She looks past him down the walkway. A neighbor's door chipped paint around the handle. A potted plant that never quite takes. Normal things small and fragile in hers. I'm not going anywhere tonight, she says. Keller looks like he might argue. Pierce cuts him off with a small movement of his hand. It is your choice, Pierce says. For now, we will have a unit patrol the area. If you see anything, if he contacts you, you call this number. He slips a card across the threshold. She glances down at it. White, standard font, no flag, no seal, just a name and a phone. Sloane Pierce followed by a line of numbers. You already know he has my number, she says. That is why we are here, he replies. For a moment, their eyes hold. There is something like respect there, or maybe it is only recognition. He knows that she knows he is not telling her everything. She knows that he knows she is not saying everything either. Good night, Ms. Shaw, he says. She closes the door. The latch clicks. The chain slides back into place with a small metallic scrape. The apartment tests the weight of its silence again. She leans her forehead against the wood and listens not to the hallway this time, but to the sound of her own breathing. In the bedroom, her phone buzzes once more on the bed beside the open duffel. Riley pushes away from the door and goes back down the short hall. Her feet are quieter than the thoughts in her head. The phone sits where she left it, screen-lit next to the open duffel. The glow throws thin light over the patch and the broken satellite phone as if the past has caught its own reflection. A new message waits. I see they knocked, it reads. Polite for people who buried you on paper. Her mouth goes dry. She sits on the bed again, the mattress dipping under her weight. You are watching my building, she types. Not anymore comes back. I do not like sharing rooftops with their kind. She squints at the words. You were here before they came, she sends. Longer than that. Her gaze flicks to the window. The blinds are still closed, but she has the sudden urge to check each slat. Why, she writes. Because I needed to know if it was really you, he replies. Not just some name on a screen. Seeing you in that bay with him today that could have been doctored footage. A file can say anything. You walking out under that streetlight that is real. She remembers the parking lot, the shape under the lamp, the tilt of his head. You could have approached me, she sends. 3 dots flash on and off. When the response comes, it is shorter. Not with their eyes on you. She thinks of the card on her kitchen counter, of Pierce reading her file the same day. Outside, a car passes on the street, tires humming. The sound rises and fades. She types slowly. If you will not kill me, what do you want from me? A longer pause this time. I want you to remember, he writes. I want you to stop doing their job for them. You saved his life today, the same man who signed off on letting ours bleed out on that ridge. Her hand curls tighter around the phone. You do not know that, she sends. You only know what you heard on that radio. I heard enough, he answers. You begged for air. He said no. You remember. Your brain buried the words so you could keep breathing, but your body knows. It shook when you saw his face. Her mind flinches around the image. General Kane pale on the gurney, his chest opening beneath Ethan's hands, her own heartbeat stuttering when she recognized him not from medals, but from a night under a sky full of nothing. Another car goes by. Distant laughter floats up from the street. Normal sounds. They feel like they belong somewhere else. Her thumbs hover again. If you believe I am on the wrong side, why warn me, she types. Because once you dragged me out from under a piece of shrapnel the size of a door, he sends. Because my throat was full of blood and you held it closed until the bird came. Because I owe you more than a bullet. Her breath catches. No name yet, no admission, only pieces that fit too well. She starts to type his name, stops, deletes. You are not the only one they use, comes another message before she can send anything. They move people like pieces. They move us until we break. They already put you back on the board. You felt it the second they pointed a camera at you. She thinks of the news, the photo, the way the entire ER tilted toward her after that. Her reply is shorter than she wants. What are you going to do? Finish what he started, he writes. This time with the right target. The world deserves to hear him say why he left us there. A knot tightens high in her chest. Fear, anger, something else she does not have a clean name for. Before she can answer, the room gives a tiny creak. It is the sound wood makes when something shifts weight on it. Not the refrigerator cycling, not the pipes. This is closer. She lifts her head. The apartment is still. The lamp, the duffel, the thin curtain barely moving in the draft from the window unit. She hears it again. A board in the living room near the door. Longer this time, a slow complaint. Her fingers set the phone down without looking. Every sense stretches. She pushes off the bed. The floor under her bare feet is cool. In the doorway, she stops, letting her eyes adjust to the dim light from the living room. Her heart beats hard, but the rhythm is steady. She knows this feeling. The moment just before the first shot. The space between quiet and impact. A shadow shifts near the couch. Her hand goes to the nightstand drawer. She slides it open an inch, careful not to let it knock. Metal brushes her fingertips. She closes her hand around the folding knife thumb, finding the worn ridge on the handle. The knife feels right there in a way that is almost frightening. Another creak, closer. The silhouette moves past the edge of the doorway, taller now. Whoever it is, they are between her and the front door. Riley. The voice is low, male. It carries through the small space, balanced on some edge between warning and request. She does not answer. She steps sideways into the narrow hall, back to the wall. The drywall is cool against her shoulder blades. The figure moves again. For a second, he is outlined by the light from the street filtering under the blinds, enough to see broad shoulders, the hint of a mask over the lower half of his face. He takes one more step. She moves. Her body remembers angles her mind has tried to forget. She closes the distance in 3 quick strides, knife low, leading with her left shoulder. She aims for the inside of his thigh, not a killing blow, just enough to drop him. He pivots faster than she expects. Her blade catches fabric instead of flesh. A hand closes around her wrist. Strong, calloused. Momentum slams them both into the wall. The picture frame near the door rattles, then falls, hitting the floor with a sharp crack. He tries to twist the knife from her grip. Her knee drives up toward his hip. He turns just enough that her leg glances off his belt. Pain flares where bone hits hard plastic. He pushes, trying to pin her arm above her head. She drops her weight suddenly. His hands slip on sweat. She spins under his arm, ripping her wrist free. The knife clatters out of her grasp, scraping across the hardwood. He recovers fast, blocking her path to it. They square off at arm's length in the tight room, chests heaving, breaths loud in the quiet apartment. He moves first, lunging, trying to clinch. She sidesteps, gets an elbow into his ribs. It lands solid. He grunts more from surprise than pain. His counter is brutal and clean. A hook to her shoulder that numbs her arm. A shove that sends her stumbling into the coffee table. The edge bites into the backs of her thighs. The room tilts. The ceiling fan swims across her vision. She uses the table to push off, coming back low. She aims a kick at his knee. He shifts, takes it on the calf instead. His leg buckles a fraction. Enough. She drives into him, shoulder to his chest. They crash into the couch. The lamp wobbles and tips light, swinging crazily before the bulb smacks the wall and rolls onto the floor, bathing everything in a strange sideways glow. He manages to roll on top. His forearm presses across her collarbone, pinning her. One hand goes for his belt. She sees the flash of metal there. A knife, longer than hers. She grabs his wrist with both hands, fighting the path of the blade. Muscles strain. Their faces are inches apart now. She can see his eyes above the mask. Dark, focused, not wild. They lock there, caught in a stalemate. His breath smells faintly of coffee and something sharper like the antiseptic from the hospital laid over gasoline and dust. Her arms tremble with effort. The knife inches down, not enough to reach her, but enough to promise he could win if he chose. Then he stops. Completely. His grip loosens just a hair. His eyes change. Confusion, then something like shock. He stares at her as if he is seeing her for the first time in full light. "Say my name," she rasps. The words surprise her as much as they surprise him. She hears the rawness in her own voice. His jaw tightens. "Riley," he says. Her heart stutters. She swallows. Her hands are still around his wrist, but they are not fighting anymore. "Noah," she says. The blade stays where it is, hovering forgotten. For a long second they only stare at each other. Noah's weight is still on her, his forearm a bar across her chest, his wrist caught in her grip. The knife hovers a handspan above her ribs, held in place by 2 sets of shaking muscles. Up close he looks older, but not in the way years alone make a person older. Thin white lines mark his cheek and temple crossings of old scars. There is tiredness in the skin under his eyes, the kind that comes from too many nights awake. He pulls his hand back, slowly sliding the knife away from her body. He flips it in his palm, then lets it fall. It clatters against